His lawyer leaned across that polished mahogany table and whispered something. Just 5 words. I couldn't hear them from where I sat, but I didn't need to, because Vincent's face, that arrogant, self-satisfied face I'd stared at across the breakfast table for 15 years, went completely, utterly white. His hands started trembling. The divorce papers he'd been so eager to sign, shaking like leaves in a hurricane. And me? For the first time in 3 years, I smiled. But here's the thing nobody tells you about revenge. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And I'd been running mine in silence, in shadows, in spreadsheets and legal clauses for longer than anyone knew. My name is Alexis Dunbar. I'm 34 years old, and until 3 months ago, I was married to Vincent Mercer, real estate mogul, community hero, and the man everyone thought had won our divorce. They were wrong. See, Vincent thought he'd taken everything, the house, the cars, the business we built together. He stood in that courtroom with his new girlfriend, yeah, that kind of story, and smirked at me like I was nothing, like 15 years of marriage, of sacrifice, of building his empire from the ground up meant nothing. Everyone thought I'd lost my mind. My friends, my family, even my own son looked at me like I'd given up. But here's what they didn't know. I hadn't lost anything. I'd planned this. Every single piece, every document he signed, every asset he fought so hard to claim. And when his lawyer whispered those 5 words, Vincent finally understood what I'd done. What would you do if someone tried to erase 15 years of your life? Let me take you back to the beginning, because you need to understand exactly how a woman everyone underestimated played the longest, most patient game of her life, and won. Let me paint you a picture. 17 years old, fresh out of high school, graduated early because I was practical, motivated, and desperately wanted out of my parents' cramped 2-bedroom apartment where the walls were so thin I could hear every argument, every slammed door, every broken promise. I got a job at Henderson and Price law firm, file clerk, minimum wage, maximum paper cuts. But it was mine. By 18, I'd clawed my way up to legal assistant. I was good with details, good with numbers, good with keeping my mouth shut and my eyes open. You learn things in a law firm, things about people, things about how the world really works when you peel back the curtain, things I'd use later. Vincent was 24 when we met at a client networking event, charming, ambitious, full of dreams about building a real estate empire that would change everything. He talked about the future like it was already his, like success was just sitting there waiting for him to show up and claim it. He said he was going to build something incredible. I said I'd help him file the paperwork. Romance, right? We got married when I was 19. Tyler came along when I was 20, beautiful, perfect, and completely exhausting. I kept working at the law firm part-time while raising our son, building up my 401k, saving every spare dollar in an account Vincent barely knew existed. My grandmother used to tell me, a woman should always have her own money. Not secret money, she'd clarify, wagging her finger, just her own, something nobody can take. I thought she was paranoid. Turns out she was a prophet. At 23, Vincent's business finally took off. Small flips at first, foreclosures, fixer-uppers, nothing glamorous. But he had vision, I'll give him that. He could see potential where others saw rot. He asked me to quit the law firm and help him full-time. He needed someone to manage the books, handle clients, coordinate with contractors, someone he could trust completely, someone who'd work for free. So I became his unpaid everything: bookkeeper, office manager, marketing director, customer service, HR department, the woman behind the man behind the empire. I didn't mind, not at first. We were building something together. That's what I told myself every time I stayed up until 3 a.m. reconciling accounts, every time Tyler's school events because a deal was closing,
Every time Vincent got the credit and I got a pat on the head. Couldn't do it without you, babe. That phrase, God, I heard it 1,000 times. Couldn't do it without you. Past tense, he could, and eventually he convinced himself he had. By the time I was 30, Mercer Properties was worth millions. We had a stunning house in Riverside Estates. Vincent drove a Tesla. I drove a used Honda because we need to reinvest in the business, Alexis. Tyler was 10, smart kid, quiet, observant. He watched everything, including the way his father started coming home later and later, the way Vincent's phone was suddenly password protected, the way he started going to networking events 4 nights a week. I'm not stupid. I knew what was happening, but here's the thing about revenge. You can't start it when you're emotional. You can't start it when you're angry. You start it when you're ready. And I wasn't ready yet. Not even close. So I smiled. I played the supportive wife. I kept the books balanced and the clients happy. And I started building my case. What would you have done? Would you have confronted him? Or would you have waited, watched, and planned? Hold that thought.
The first time I saw her, I was dropping off lunch at Vincent's office. Madison, 26 years old, long blonde hair, tight pencil skirt, the kind of woman who laughs too loud at jokes that aren't funny. She was his new assistant. "Alexis, this is Madison. She's going to help lighten my load," Vincent said, grinning. Lighten his load. I almost laughed. "Nice to meet you," I said, shaking her hand. Firm grip, expensive manicure, perfume that cost more than my car payment. She smiled. "Vincent talks about you all the time. You're like a total legend." Was. Past tense. I drove home that day and didn't say a word, just sat in my driveway for 20 minutes, hands gripping the steering wheel, breathing slowly. Then I went inside, kissed Tyler on the forehead, and opened my laptop. Remember that law firm I worked at? Henderson and Price? Turns out, once you're part of that world, you never really leave it. I still had contacts, friends in low places, people who owed me favors. I made 3 phone calls that night. By the end of the week, I had a forensic accountant on retainer, a private investigator with a very specific skill set, and access to every financial document Vincent thought was buried. Because here's the thing about building a business with your spouse. Legally, ethically, financially, you're entangled. Every LLC, every property deed, every bank account. And I'd been the one managing it all. I knew where every dollar was, every hidden expense, every business trip that didn't quite add up. Vincent thought he was being clever, thought I was too busy playing housewife to notice. But I noticed everything. The $3,000 charge at a boutique hotel in Miami during a conference, the sudden interest in expensive dinners on the company card, the way he started transferring money into a separate account, one he thought I didn't know about. Spoiler, I knew about all of them. The investigator sent me the first batch of photos 3 weeks later. Madison and Vincent, holding hands at a restaurant downtown, kissing in the parking garage, entering a condo I didn't recognize. I stared at those photos for a long time, not because I was heartbroken, that ship had sailed months ago, but because I needed to feel nothing. Revenge doesn't work if you're emotional. Revenge works when you're surgical. So I printed one photo, just one. Madison and Vincent laughing over champagne at some rooftop bar, and I tucked it into my desk drawer. Not to confront him, not yet, but to remind myself what I was fighting for. Tyler came into my office that night, 12 years old now, tall for his age, quiet. "Mom? Yeah, sweetheart? Is everything okay?" I looked at my son, his worried eyes, his clenched fists. He knew. Kids always know. "Everything's fine," I lied. "Why?" He's different. He doesn't come to my games anymore." I pulled Tyler into a hug. "Your dad's really busy right now, but I promise everything's going to be okay."
Another lie, but a necessary one, because what I was about to do, it wasn't just for me. It was for Tyler, for every night Vincent missed, every broken promise, every time he chose his mistress over his son. I kissed Tyler's forehead. Go to bed, baby. School tomorrow. He nodded and left, and I opened my laptop again. Phase 2 was about to begin. Would you have confronted him, or would you keep digging deeper? Let me show you what I found next.
Here's something most people don't understand about divorce. It's not about love. It's not even about betrayal. It's about money. And the person who controls the financial narrative, that person wins. I spent the next 6 months becoming a ghost, invisible, compliant, the perfect wife. I smiled at Vincent's business partners, laughed at their terrible jokes, played hostess at events where Madison showed up as his assistant while I served canapes like I didn't notice them sneaking glances at each other. I was a goddamn Oscar-worthy performance. But behind the scenes, I was building a fortress. My forensic accountant, let's call him Derek, was a wizard. Mid-50s, divorced 3 times, had a personal vendetta against cheating spouses, perfect for my needs. Alexis, he said during our 3rd meeting, sliding a folder across the table, your husband is either incredibly stupid or incredibly arrogant. Both, I said. Derek laughed. Well, that makes my job easier. Inside that folder was a roadmap to Vincent's downfall. See, Vincent had been doing something very, very illegal, commingling funds. For those who don't speak financial crime, that means mixing personal and business money in ways that would make the IRS very, very interested. Luxury vacations, charged to the business. Madison's designer wardrobe, business expense. That $85,000 Rolex he bought himself for his birthday? You guessed it, client gift. But here's the beautiful part, because I had been managing the books for years, because my name was on half those accounts as co-signer, I had access to everything. Every receipt, every transfer, every shady deduction. This is enough to trigger an audit, possibly even fraud charges if you wanted to go nuclear. Not yet, I said. I need more. More? I leaned forward. I need to know where he's hiding assets, because he's planning something. I can feel it. Derek nodded slowly. You think he's going to file for divorce. I know he is. And I was right. 2 weeks later, Vincent came home late, smelling like Madison's perfume, loosened tie, guilty smile. Alexis, we need to talk. My heart didn't even skip. I'd rehearsed this moment 100 times. Okay. He sat down, rubbed his face, gave me the speech I'd been expecting for months. I'm not happy anymore. We've grown apart. It's not you, it's me. I think we should consider divorce. I let him finish. Let him get comfortable in his confession. Let him think he was in control. Then I said, okay. He blinked. Okay? Yeah, if that's what you want. You're not going to fight this? I shrugged. What's the point? If you're not happy, you're not happy. He looked almost disappointed, like he'd been expecting drama, tears, begging. Instead, I handed him a bottle of beer from the fridge and said, we should probably get lawyers, right? Right. Yeah. I'll have someone draft the papers. Sounds good. He left the kitchen shaking his head, probably thinking he'd just won the easiest divorce in history. Idiot. That night I called Derek. Eileen and Derek had been in legal contact. I was handling all communication through her. He's filing, I said. Good. You ready for phase 3? I looked at the stack of documents on my desk. Bank statements, property deeds, business contracts, years of evidence. Yeah, I said. I'm ready. Because here's the thing about revenge. The best kind doesn't announce itself. It waits. And when it strikes, it's already too late. Vincent's lawyer filed the divorce papers 3 weeks later. His name was Richard Calloway, mid-50s, expensive suit, reputation for winning ugly. The kind of lawyer you hire when you want to destroy someone. The papers arrived via courier at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday. I signed for them, closed the door, and read every single page. It was worse than I'd imagined. Vincent was asking for primary custody of Tyler, the house, full ownership of Mercer Properties, and spousal support from me. I had to read that last part 3 times. Spousal support from me, the woman who'd worked for free for a decade, the woman who built his business from the ground up. He was claiming that because the business was solely in his name and because I'd been a stay-at-home mom, a lie, I'd worked 60-hour weeks, I had contributed nothing of value. Nothing of value. I sat at my kitchen table staring at those papers and felt something cold settle into my chest. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. Tyler came downstairs for breakfast, 14 now, tall, quiet, angry in that teenage way that breaks your heart. "What's that?" he asked, nodding at the papers. "Just some stuff from your dad's lawyer." "About the divorce?" I nodded. He poured himself cereal, didn't look at me. "Dad said I'd be living with him." My blood turned to ice. "Tyler, look at me." He did. His eyes, Vincent's eyes, were hard, guarded. "I have never and will never agree to anything that takes you away from me. Do you understand?" "But Dad said—" "I don't care what he said. He's lying." His jaw tightened. "Why would he lie?" "Because he's trying to control the narrative. But I promise you, baby, I'm going to fix this." He stared at me for a long moment, then nodded, grabbed his backpack, left for school without another word. I waited until I heard the front door close. Then I called my lawyer. Her name was Rebecca Thornton, late 40s, sharp as a scalpel. We'd gone to high school together, back when she was Rebecca Kim, and I was the girl who helped her pass chemistry. She owed me. "Alexis," she said when she answered, "tell me you got the papers." I did. "And?" "I have nothing. He wants everything, including Tyler." Silence. Then, "That son of a bitch. Rebecca, I need you to bury him." "Oh, honey, I'm going to do more than bury him. I'm going to ruin him." Good. We met that afternoon at her office. I brought 3 banker's boxes full of evidence: financial records, emails, photos, recordings I'd made of Vincent's phone calls when he thought I wasn't listening. Rebecca went through it all, her expression shifting from impressed to gleeful. "Alexis, this is beautiful. Do you know what you have here? A case? A goddamn massacre." She pulled out the commingling evidence, the hidden accounts, the transfers to offshore LLCs I'd discovered through some very creative research. "He's been hiding assets, deliberately, for at least 2 years. "I know. And you documented all of it? Every transaction." Rebecca leaned back in her chair, grinning like a wolf. "Alexis, when we're done, Vincent Mercer isn't going to have a pot to piss in." "Good," I said again. "There's just one thing." "What?" "We need to make him think he's winning. At least at first." I frowned. "Why?" "Because arrogant men make mistakes, and we need him to make a big one." I thought about that, about Vincent's smug face, his lawyer's condescending tone. "What do you need me to do?" Rebecca smiled. "Absolutely nothing." The first court hearing was scheduled for 6 weeks later. In that time, I played the role of a lifetime. I stopped fighting with Vincent, stopped asking questions, let him come and go as he pleased, let Madison answer his phone when he forgot it on the counter. I became a ghost in my own home. At the office, because yes, I was still managing his business, I was polite, professional, detached. Vincent loved it. "See," he told his lawyer loud enough for me to hear, "I told you she'd be reasonable." Reasonable. That word haunted me. But I smiled, nodded, played my part. Behind the scenes, Rebecca was building a nuclear bomb. We filed our response to Vincent's petition. It was calm, measured, asked for equitable distribution of assets and fair custody arrangements. Nothing aggressive, nothing that would set off alarm bells. "He's going to think you're rolling over," Rebecca warned. Good. And he did. Vincent got comfortable, started bringing Madison to business meetings, introduced her as his partner. Not business partner, just partner. The clients noticed. I could see it in their faces, the confusion, the discomfort, but Vincent didn't care.
He was untouchable now. He'd filed for divorce. He was getting everything. Why shouldn't he celebrate? 2 weeks before the hearing, Vincent made his first big mistake. He transferred $250,000 from the business account into his personal offshore LLC. I was sitting at my desk when the alert popped up on my screen. I stared at it for a full minute, then took a screenshot and sent it to Rebecca. Her response was immediate. Gotcha. See, moving assets during divorce proceedings, that's called dissipation of marital property, and it's very illegal. Vincent had just handed us a smoking gun, but we didn't react, didn't file an emergency motion, didn't tip our hand. We waited. The court date arrived. Early morning, cold and gray outside. I dressed carefully that day. Conservative navy suit, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. I looked like a librarian, a victim. Vincent showed up in a $4,000 suit with Madison on his arm. She wasn't allowed in the courtroom, but he made sure everyone saw her in the hallway, marking his territory. His lawyer, Richard Calloway, was all smiles, confident, relaxed. He thought this was going to be a cakewalk. The judge, Honorable Patricia Marino, a woman in her 60s with steel gray hair and eyes that missed nothing, reviewed the initial filings. Mr. Calloway, your client is seeking primary custody, the marital home, and full ownership of a business that was built during the marriage? Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Mercer was primarily a homemaker and had limited involvement in the day-to-day operations of Mercer Properties. I felt Rebecca tense beside me. Judge Marino looked at me. Mrs. Mercer, is that accurate? I opened my mouth to respond, but Rebecca stood. Your Honor, if I may, proceed. Rebecca pulled out the first document, then the second, then the third. Your Honor, Mrs. Mercer was not a homemaker. She was the chief financial officer, office manager, and primary point of contact for Mercer Properties for over 12 years. She managed every account, coordinated every deal, and has her name on every major contract and bank account. She slid a stack of papers to the judge. Furthermore, we have evidence that Mr. Mercer has been systematically hiding assets and committing financial fraud in preparation for these proceedings. Vincent's face went pale. Calloway shot to his feet. Your Honor, this is— Sit down, Mr. Calloway. The judge was reading, flipping through pages, her expression darkening. Then she looked up, straight at Vincent. Mr. Mercer, did you transfer $250,000 out of your business account 2 weeks ago? Silence.
Vincent opened his mouth, closed it, looked at his lawyer. Calloway was sweating now. Your Honor, any transfers made were legitimate business expenses. Business expenses? Judge Moreno's voice could have cut glass. To an offshore LLC registered in the Cayman Islands 2 weeks before a divorce hearing? Your Honor, I'm not finished, Mr. Calloway. She turned back to Rebecca. Miss Thornton, I assume you have documentation of this transfer. Rebecca stood, calm as ice. We do, Your Honor. Bank statements, wire transfer records, and registration documents for the shell company. She handed a folder to the bailiff, who delivered it to the judge. Judge Marino read in silence. The courtroom was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Finally, she looked up. Mr. Mercer, I'm ordering an immediate freeze on all marital assets pending a full forensic audit. You are not to transfer, sell, or otherwise dispose of any property, accounts, or business holdings. Do you understand? Vincent's voice was barely a whisper. Yes, Your Honor. Furthermore, I'm denying your petition for primary custody pending further investigation. Your Honor, that's— Are you arguing with me, Mr. Calloway? Silence. That's what I thought. We'll reconvene in 30 days. Bring your checkbook, Mr. Mercer. Something tells me you're going to need it. The gavel came down. It was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. We walked out of that courthouse into the cold morning air. Vincent and Calloway headed one direction. Rebecca and I went the other. I didn't look back. I didn't need to, because I'd just won round one. Rebecca drove us to a diner 3 blocks away, ordered 2 coffees and a slice of pie. That, she said, raising her mug, was glorious. We're not done yet. No, she agreed, but we just backed him into a corner, and cornered animals do stupid things. She was right. Vincent called me that night, 11 p.m. I was in bed, reading. Alexis? Vincent. What the hell was that today? That was me protecting myself. Protecting? Are you insane? You're trying to destroy me. No, I said calmly. I'm trying to get what I'm owed. You're owed? You? I built that company. We built that company. I was there for every deal, every late night, every contract. You just didn't see me because you stopped looking. He was breathing hard, angry, cornered. You're going to regret this. Maybe, but not today. I hung up and blocked his number. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. It was Madison. You're pathetic. He never loved you. I stared at that message for a long time, thought about responding, about tearing into this girl who was young and stupid and sleeping with a married man. But I didn't, because Madison wasn't my enemy. She was just another casualty of Vincent's ego. Instead, I forwarded the text to Rebecca with a note, Exhibit L. Her response, oh, absolutely. Over the next 2 weeks, Vincent made 3 more massive mistakes. Mistake number 1, he tried to fire me from the business. Couldn't, my name was on too many contracts. Mistake number 2, he moved Madison into the house. Our house. While Tyler was there. My son called me, crying, Mom, she's in your bedroom. I drove over, packed Tyler's bags, brought him home, and filed an emergency custody motion. Mistake number 3, he tried to bribe a witness, one of our former contractors. Vincent offered him $10,000 to testify that I'd never been involved in the business. The contractor, turned out he liked me, respected me. He recorded the conversation and sent it to Rebecca. Rebecca said when she called me, I think it's time. Time for what? To show him what you've really been planning. I smiled. Set up the meeting. The meeting was scheduled for Thursday afternoon. Neutral location, conference room at Rebecca's law office. Vincent showed up with Calloway and a second lawyer, some bulldog specialist he'd hired to fix his situation. Too late. They sat across from us. Vincent wouldn't look at me. His jaw was clenched so tight I thought his teeth might shatter. Calloway opened with the usual posturing. Miss Thornton, my client is prepared to offer a settlement. No. Rebecca's voice was flat, final. Calloway blinked. I'm sorry? I said no. We're not here to negotiate. We're here to present reality. She slid a document across the table. Vincent picked it up, started reading. His face went from pale to green. What is this? That, Rebecca said, is a forensic audit of Mercer Properties covering the last 8 years. She pulled out another document. And that is a list of every fraudulent deduction, every commingled fund, and every illegal transfer your client has made. Another document. And that is a summary of tax evasion charges the IRS will be very interested in pursuing. Calloway was speed reading now, his confidence evaporating with every page. You can't. This is legal, admissible, devastating. Rebecca leaned forward. Yes, to all 3. Vincent finally looked at me, really looked at me. You've been planning this? He whispered. For 3 years, I said. You stayed. You kept working. You smiled at me, all while you were building this? Yes. He looked like I'd slapped him. Why? Because you thought I was nothing. You thought you could erase me, take everything I built and give me nothing. I leaned forward. But here's what you forgot, Vincent. I managed your books. I signed your contracts. I know where every dollar came from and where it went. Rebecca tapped the stack of documents. Your client has 2 options. Option 1, accept our settlement terms. Which are? Calloway asked weakly. Rebecca slid another paper across.
Mrs. Mercer receives 50% of all marital assets, including Mercer Properties. She retains primary custody of Tyler, and Mr. Mercer pays full spousal and child support until Tyler turns 18. That's option 2, Rebecca continued. We release all of this to the IRS, the state tax board, and the media. Your client faces criminal charges, loses his business license, and probably goes to prison. She smiled. It wasn't nice. Your move. The room was silent. Vincent's new lawyer leaned over and whispered something. Calloway was reading the documents, his face ashen. Finally, Vincent spoke. I need time. You have 24 hours, Rebecca said. After that, we file everything. We stood up. Rebecca gathered her papers. As we reached the door, Vincent called out, Alexis. I stopped, didn't turn around. I really did love you once. I looked back at him. This man I'd spent 15 years with. This man I'd built an empire for. No, Vincent, you loved what I could do for you. There's a difference. We left. In the elevator, Rebecca let out a breath. Holy hell. Think he'll take the deal? Oh, he'll take it. He doesn't have a choice. And if he doesn't? She grinned. Then we unleash hell. That night, Tyler asked me what was happening. We were in the kitchen. I was making dinner. Something normal, something grounding. Your dad and I are working out the details of the divorce, I said. Are you going to take everything? I looked at my son, almost 15, growing up too fast. I'm going to take what's fair, what I earned. Good, he said. Then, quieter, he deserves it. I hugged him, tight. I love you, baby. Love you too, Mom. 23 hours later, Vincent's lawyer called. He's taking the deal.
The final divorce settlement was signed 3 weeks later. Same courthouse, same judge, different energy. Vincent looked like he'd aged 10 years, hollow eyes, rumpled suit. Madison was nowhere to be seen. I later learned she dumped him the second his bank account got frozen. We sat on opposite sides of the courtroom, didn't speak, didn't make eye contact. Judge Moreno reviewed the settlement agreement, all 27 pages of it. Mr. Mercer, do you understand the terms of this agreement? Yes, Your Honor. And you're entering into it willingly. His lawyer nudged him. Yes, Your Honor. Mrs. Mercer. I stood. Yes, Your Honor. Very well. She signed the order. This marriage is hereby dissolved. Assets will be divided according to the terms outlined. Custody arrangements are finalized. Mr. Mercer, you have 30 days to vacate the marital home and transfer your share of the business. The gavel came down. It was over. I walked out of that courthouse into bright sunshine. Rebecca beside me, Tyler waiting at the car. How do you feel? Rebecca asked. I thought about it, tried to find the anger, the bitterness, the rage that had fueled me for 3 years. It was gone. Free, I said. She hugged me. Go live your life. Tyler was quiet on the drive home, watching me. You okay, baby? Are you? I smiled. Yeah, I really am. So what happens now? Now we figure out what comes next. Because here's the thing nobody tells you about revenge. It's not the ending. It's the beginning. I got 50% of Mercer Properties. Vincent tried to keep running it, but without me managing operations, without my client relationships, without my financial expertise, it collapsed in 6 months. Turns out, he really couldn't do it without me. I used my settlement to start my own real estate firm, smaller, boutique, focused on helping women in divorce situations buy their first independent properties. I called it Second Chapter Properties. Tyler helped me design the logo. Within a year, we were profitable. Within 2 years, we'd surpassed Mercer Properties' peak revenue. Vincent tried to reach out a few times, apologize, explain. I never responded. Some bridges you don't rebuild. You just walk away and find a new river. Tyler graduated high school this year, full scholarship to college, business major. Says he wants to work with me someday. I told him he has to intern somewhere else first, learn from someone who isn't his mother. He laughed.
Said I was preparing him to take over the world. Maybe I am. A few months ago, I ran into Vincent at a charity event. Couldn't avoid it. Small city, overlapping social circles. He looked diminished, smaller somehow. "Alexis," he said. "Vincent, you look good. Thank you." Awkward silence. "I heard your business is doing well." "It is." That's good." He shifted, uncomfortable. "Look, I know I don't deserve to ask, but do you think you'll ever forgive me?" I thought about that question. Really thought about it. "Vincent, I don't think about you enough to forgive you." His face crumpled. I didn't stay to watch, because I meant what I said. He's a chapter I closed, a lesson I learned, and I'm moving forward. So here's what I learned from 15 years of marriage and 3 years of meticulous revenge. Lesson 1, document everything, always. Lesson 2, patience isn't passive, it's strategic. Lesson 3, the best revenge isn't loud, it's thorough. Lesson 4, you're never as powerless as someone wants you to believe. And lesson 5, sometimes the person who wins isn't the one who fights the hardest, it's the one who plans the longest.
But wait, I promised you a whisper, didn't I? 5 words that turned Vincent's face white, that made his hands tremble, that made him realize, finally, what he'd really lost. Let me take you back to that conference room, that final settlement meeting before we signed everything in court. We'd been going back and forth for 90 minutes. Vincent was stalling, looking for any last-minute leverage, any way to claw back some dignity. Rebecca was getting impatient. I was getting bored. Then Vincent's lawyer leaned over and whispered something to him, and Vincent's face did that thing, the color draining, the hands shaking, the dawning horror. You're probably wondering, what did the lawyer say? Let me set the scene properly first. See, there was one piece of information I'd been holding back, one card I hadn't played yet. Remember those offshore accounts, the hidden LLCs, the money Vincent had been squirreling away? He thought he'd been so clever, thought he'd protected his escape hatch, that even if I got 50% of the business, he'd still have his secret nest egg. Over $1.2 million, hidden across 3 different shell companies. Vincent didn't know I knew about those accounts, but I did. And more importantly, I'd been quietly documenting them for the forensic auditor, every transfer, every fake invoice used to justify moving money. But I hadn't told Vincent I knew. I'd let him believe that particular secret was safe. Why? Because the absolute best moment in revenge isn't when you win, it's when your enemy realizes they never had a chance. So during that final conference, when Vincent was stalling and posturing and trying to salvage his pride, Rebecca casually mentioned something. "Oh, by the way, Mr. Calloway, we'll need your client to include the assets from his offshore accounts in the settlement division." Calloway frowned. "What offshore accounts?" Vincent went very still. Rebecca pulled out 3 folders: Sea Venture LLC, Horizon Holdings, and my personal favorite, Second Chance Enterprises. She looked at Vincent. Ironic name, that last one. Calloway turned to Vincent. "What is she talking about?" Vincent couldn't speak. His fancy second lawyer grabbed the folders, started reading. His face changed. Then he leaned over to Vincent and whispered 5 words. "She knows about all 3. That's when Vincent realized, not just that I knew about his hidden money, but that I'd always known. That every conversation where he thought he was outsmarting me, I'd been 10 steps ahead. Every time he thought he'd hidden assets successfully, I'd been documenting them. Every moment he'd spent congratulating himself on his clever planning, I'd been building his prison. The lawyer kept whispering, laying out the nightmare scenario. If those offshore accounts weren't disclosed right now, it wouldn't just be divorce court, it would be criminal fraud, perjury, tax evasion, federal charges, years in prison. And here's the beautiful part. Vincent had already submitted his financial disclosures to the court under oath, and those disclosures didn't mention any offshore accounts. He'd already committed perjury,
All I had to do was file a motion with evidence, and Vincent wouldn't just lose his business, he'd lose his freedom. Calloway was sweating now. The second lawyer looked like he wanted to throw up. And Vincent? Vincent looked at me with something I'd never seen in his eyes before. Fear. Real, genuine, bone-deep fear. "How long have you known?" he whispered. I smiled. "Since the beginning, Vincent. I've known everything since the beginning." His lawyer was frantically trying to calculate damage control. "Your Honor, Miss Thornton, if we amend the disclosures immediately, you'll include all offshore assets in the settlement division, 50-50, and you'll do it today, right now, or we file criminal charges tomorrow morning." Silence. Then Vincent did something I'd never seen him do. He broke.
Vincent's hands were shaking so badly he could barely hold the pen. "You planned this," he said, voice hollow, defeated. "All of it." "Yes." "For how long?" 3 years, maybe longer. Hard to pinpoint exactly when I stopped loving you and started planning. He flinched like I'd hit him. "The whole time I was making plans, moving money, thinking I was being smart. You were letting me. You were watching me dig my own grave." "Yes." "Why?" His voice cracked. "Why go through all this? Why not just divorce me 2 years ago when you first found out about Madison?" I leaned forward, made sure he was looking at me. "Because you would have gotten away with it, Vincent. You would have had your lawyers, your hidden money, your prepared strategy. You would have painted me as an unstable housewife, taken Tyler, taken everything I built, and walked away thinking you'd won." I paused. "I needed you to feel safe. I needed you to be arrogant. I needed you to make mistakes." His lawyer was frantically whispering in his ear. Calloway looked like he'd aged 20 years in the last 10 minutes. "Sign the amended disclosure," Calloway finally said. "Sign everything. Now." "But now, Vincent, or you're going to federal prison." Vincent picked up the pen with trembling hands and signed. Every page, every amendment, every transfer of assets. 50% of the offshore accounts, mine. 50% of the business, mine. The house, mine. Primary custody of Tyler, mine. By the time we were done, Vincent had lost everything he'd spent 3 years trying to hide. And more than that, he'd lost the one thing he valued most, his pride. As we gathered our papers, Vincent spoke one last time. "You destroyed me." I stopped, looked back. "No, Vincent, you destroyed yourself. I just held up a mirror." We left him sitting there, a hollow shell of the man who'd once promised me the world. In the elevator, Rebecca let out a breath. That was the most brutally efficient takedown I've ever witnessed. He deserved it. Oh, absolutely. But still, remind me never to piss you off. I smiled. Noted. That night, Tyler and I ordered pizza and watched a movie. Something light, something mindless. Halfway through, he paused it. "Mom? Yeah? You're kind of scary, you know that?" I laughed. "I'm your mother. I'm supposed to be scary." "No, I mean, Dad had no idea what he was up against." I looked at my son, this beautiful, smart, perceptive kid who'd watched his parents' marriage crumble and somehow still turned out okay. "Tyler, let me tell you something important, something I want you to remember." He nodded. "Never underestimate someone just because they're quiet, just because they're patient, just because they're kind." I reached over and took his hand. The most dangerous people aren't the ones who yell and threaten. They're the ones who watch and wait and plan. And when they finally make their move, it's already too late. He was quiet for a moment. Then, "That's actually really scary, Mom." "Good. Now you know where you get it from." We finished the movie, ate too much pizza, laughed at stupid jokes, normal things. But in the back of my mind, I was thinking about Vincent, about the look on his face when he realized he'd lost. And I felt nothing. No anger, no regret, just peace.
The next morning, the settlement was finalized in court. Judge Marino signed off on everything. "Mrs. Mercer," she said as we were leaving, "off the record." "Yes, Your Honor?" She smiled, small, knowing. "Well played."
The aftermath was stranger than the war. For 3 years, I'd been focused, driven. Every decision filtered through one question: will this help me win? And then suddenly, I'd won. The house was mine, the money was mine, Tyler was with me, Vincent was gone. Not dead, not disappeared, just gone from my life in any meaningful way. It should have felt triumphant. Instead, it felt quiet. I spent the first month just existing, redecorating the house, painting over old memories, replacing furniture Vincent had picked out, erasing him piece by piece. Tyler helped. We made it a project, turned his room into a proper teenage space, converted Vincent's old office into a library. "Mom," Tyler asked one day while we were assembling a bookshelf, "do you hate Dad?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "No," I said finally, "I don't hate him. But after everything he did, hate takes energy, baby, and I've spent enough energy on your father. I'm not going to waste any more." He nodded, went back to tightening screws, but I could tell he was thinking, processing. "Tyler, you know it's okay to love him, right? He's still your father." "I know. It's just complicated." "Yeah, it is." We finished the bookshelf in silence, comfortable silence. That night, I got an unexpected email from Madison. Subject: "I'm sorry." I stared at it for a long time, cursor hovering over delete. Then curiosity won. "Dear Alexis, I know I'm probably the last person you want to hear from, and I don't expect forgiveness, but I needed to say this. I'm sorry. I was young and stupid and selfish. I didn't think about you as a real person. You were just the wife, the obstacle. I convinced myself that if Vincent was willing to cheat, the marriage must have been broken anyway. I was wrong. After everything fell apart and he lost the business, Vincent tried to lean on me, wanted me to be supportive and understanding. But the truth is, I never loved him. I loved what he represented: success, wealth, escape from my own mediocre life. When all that disappeared, so did my interest. I see now what he did to you, how he used you, and I'm horrified that I helped him do it. You didn't just win the divorce. You taught me something of strength and patience that I'll never forget. I hope you're happy. I hope your son is okay. And I hope someday you can at least understand why I'm writing this, even if you can't forgive me. Madison." I read it 3 times. Then I typed a response. "Madison, I'm not going to tell you I forgive you. I'm not there yet, and I may never be, but I appreciate the honesty, and I hope you learned something from this disaster. We all make mistakes, especially when we're young. The difference between wisdom and stupidity is what you do after. Don't waste your 20s on married men. Find someone who's actually available. Build something that's yours. Good luck. Alexis." I hit send before I could second guess it, closed the laptop, and realized something. I'd let it go. Not forgiven, not forgotten, but released. Rebecca called me the next week. Lunch? Always. We met at our favorite spot. Outdoor patio, good wine, better company. "So," she said, raising her glass, "what's next for Alexis Dunst?" I thought about it. Second chapter properties, about Tyler's college plans, about the life I was building from the wreckage. "Everything," I said. "Absolutely everything." We clinked glasses, and I meant it. Because here's what I learned. Revenge isn't the ending. It's the clearing away of debris so you can build something new. And I was just getting started. But there's one more thing you need to know. One more twist to this story. Something I discovered 6 months after the divorce was finalized. Something that changed everything. 6 months after the divorce, I got a call from Derek, my forensic accountant. "Alexis, you need to see something." We met at a coffee shop. He slid a folder across the table. "What is this?" "Insurance policy. $2 million, taken out 8 years ago." I frowned. "We had life insurance. I know about that." "Not life insurance.
divorce insurance. I stared at him. What? Apparently, Vincent took out a policy when you two were doing well. It was designed to protect his assets in case of divorce. But here's the kicker. The beneficiary listed isn't him. Then who? Derek pointed to a name on the form. My name. You're listed as the primary beneficiary. If he filed for divorce and lost more than 50% of his assets, you get $2 million. I sat back, stunned. He must have forgotten about it, Derek said. It was buried in old paperwork, but it just paid out. $2 million from the man who tried to take everything. I started laughing, couldn't help it. Something funny? Derek asked. Vincent always said he'd take care of me. Guess he finally kept his promise. So that's my story. 15 years of marriage, 3 years of planning, 1 divorce that changed everything. Vincent tried to erase me. Instead, he funded my future. I rebuilt. Tyler's thriving. Second Chapter Properties is booming. And me? I'm finally living the life I deserve. If you made it this far, drop a comment. What would you have done? Hit that subscribe button for more stories of revenge, resilience, and justice. And remember, never underestimate the quiet ones. They're not weak, they're just planning. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.